Hello and welcome to Run Testers. My name's Nick and this is our first run review of the Asics Gel-Kayano 30. The 30th edition of the Asics Gel-Kayano is a big departure from what we've seen before from the line. It's now a maxed out shoe with a really big stack height, and its approach to stability in the shoe has changed quite a lot as well. And so it is very much still a stable shoe in Asics' lineup. It's almost a stable counterpart to the neutral Gel Nimbus, but it's now a shoe that's probably got broader appeal to a range of runners with the approach Asics has taken with it. It's a very expensive shoe though, so that will knock out quite a lot of those runners I just mentioned. It's £180 in UK, $160 in the US. It's pretty heavy, it's 315 grams or 11.1 ounces, but that's not a bad weight given how high the stack is. It's 40 millimeters at the heel and 30 millimeters at the forefoot. So it's a 10 millimeter drop and a rise in stack of 4 millimeters on the previous version of the Gel-Kayano. So a lot higher platform. And that stack is made out of Asics' FF Blast Plus foam. It's their very comfortable foam. It's the eco version of that foam. Same stuff again used on the Gel Nimbus to create a very comfortable ride without being overly squishy and soft. There's a little bit of pure gel there as well under the heel, but it's not visible from the outside. I'm not sure it's doing a lot anymore in the shoe, the gel, but it's still in there a little bit, so it can still be called the Gel-Kayano. And then the stability elements, like I say, have changed a lot. You've got the 4D guidance system on this shoe, which it says there. Stability has finally entered the fourth dimension with this shoe, and there's lots of different elements to it that make it stable that we've seen cropping up on shoes in general, but they've all been combined here in the Gel-Kayano. You've got big sidewalls of foam your foot sits within. You've got an incredibly wide base throughout the shoe, even wider than the very wide Gel Nimbus. Then you've got a bigger heel bevel to guide your foot upon landing, and then the geometry of the shoe has been sculpted and generally molded to create a stable ride throughout the shoe. So it's not just about medial posting and that kind of thing to prevent your foot rolling inward at that point. It's more about keeping your foot centered throughout the length of the shoe to create that stable ride. The Result is still a very stable shoe, but it's not got the same feel as stability shoes in the past, and that might mean that it appeals to a broader range of runners. Engineered knit upper, which has got a lot of padding at the heel, like a really thick amount there, and actually it runs down the inside of the shoe at the back there, so your heel and back of your foot is really going to be cradled very much by this upper. And then you've got a big internal heel counter, very noticeable. They're very stiff at the back there to create, again, even more stability. And you've got an AHA Plus rubber outsole, not with full coverage, but little blotches of it do give pretty good coverage across the shoe, and these darker green ones at the back are firmer than the rubber used elsewhere in that high impact zone at the back of the shoe to increase durability there. The last thing to say is that the samples for this review are provided by Sport Shoes. We're not affiliated with Sport Shoes in any way, and as always, this review is our completely unbiased opinions, but thanks very much to Sport Shoes for sorting the samples so we could test out the Kayano 30.
The fit for me in the Asics Gel-Kayano 30, I'm an 8. This is a size 8. I found it to be very comfortable. Took a little bit of time to get on initially. It feels like the top section is fairly restrictive when you first get it, but there's plenty of room in it when you actually put it on. I found it to be a pretty generous shoe. I definitely didn't feel any pinching or anything around the midfoot. There's a nice little bit of space in the forefoot as well. There's plenty of room for your toes to wiggle, and there is loads of padding around the ankle collar, and a fairly well padded tongue as well. Very comfortable. I would stay to my size in this shoe.
So I have the Gel-Kayano in my normal running shoe size for Asics. That's a UK 9, which converts to a US 10 with Asics, and it fits me really well. It's got a really good hold around the heel with all that padding there. Nice secure fit and support around the midfoot. It's a pretty roomy toe box, like to the point where maybe I could go half a size down as I'm a little bit small for my size and have a narrow foot, but I like the amount of room I have in the shoe. It's a good amount, I think, for a shoe like this, which is mainly going to be used for easy and long runs. So I'd stick to your normal running shoe size with the Gel-Kayano 30.
So the first run that I've done in this was a 5K at a very comfortable pace. I'm currently slightly injured, so I can't do any major speed work at the moment. So this was the perfect shoe to take out for that. I've never been a big fan of the Gel-Kayano line. I'm not really a stability runner, and previously when I've tried it, it's just not really worked for me. It instantly felt like a stability shoe. It always felt a bit dull to me. It always felt like I wasn't really getting anything from it. And if I did long runs in the Gel-Kayano earlier versions, I felt that they were a real slog. Just very rigid, not really much to go on, not a nice smooth transition, and just never really enjoyed it. The new Gel-Kayano 30 feels very different than the original Gel-Kayanos or the previous Gel-Kayanos. It definitely feels a little bit softer. Definitely feels a little bit more enjoyable to run in. And in many ways, it feels a little bit like the Nimbus 20, the Gel Nimbus 25, which is a fantastic shoe, and I really enjoy running in that shoe. So I'd say this is the first Gel-Kayano that I've tried on, and I've just liked it straight away. They've definitely made quite a lot of updates to this, especially around the midsole foam feel, to make it an enjoyable shoe that doesn't necessarily feel like a stability shoe. It does definitely feel very stable. It does feel very supportive. There's a really nice wide base on it, which really holds your foot in place, places it into the position that you want it to be. But it doesn't feel like it's holding you back. It does feel very comfortable when you're out on a comfortable, enjoyable run. So what I would say about the midsole foam is it does feel a little bit like there's a bit more to it. I wouldn't say it's bouncy, but it feels like there's just a little bit of energy in it, which I never got from any of the previous Gel-Kayanos. I also feel like there's a nice soft bedding in the foot, presumably from that gel pod, which just makes it very comfortable to run in. I really enjoyed running in it for that first run, and I think it's a massive improvement on the previous versions. We see a lot of stability shoes come out now that really sort of sit on the fence between a stability shoe and just a good, comfortable shoe. And I think the Gel-Kayano 30 is getting there. It's definitely a big improvement on the previous versions for me. And for somebody who isn't a stability runner, it still does the job. I'm quite happy to wear this. And I think I'm going to probably quite enjoy wearing this for a lot of runs as I come out of injury. And yeah, it's a good shoe for that. The run I did, it was very dry, so there was no wet ground to test it on. But I found the outsole to be very good on what I was running on so far. It was a little bit less generous than what I've seen on some other stability shoes, but there's still plenty of covering on there. And the upper felt very comfortable for that run as well. No issues at all.
I took the Gel-Kayano out for its first run today. It was a very relaxed, easy run, fairly short run at the moment, so I'm keeping the load low, and it was nice to have a big, supportive, comfortable shoe on the end of my foot for today's run. I haven't used a Gel-Kayano for a few years now. I can't remember exactly the last model I used, but I think it has changed a little bit since I last used it, but this is certainly a huge change on what I've experienced with the Gel-Kayano line in the past. So I found those shoes fine, but a little bit firm and lifeless, and the kind of shoe I would test and then move on from, because I don't need a stability shoe, and they weren't really appealing to me either for easy runs or fast runs. They were just okay, very stable, but not my cup of tea. This is certainly different. It is a shoe that appeals to me. It's really comfortable underfoot. It's just the right level of cushy without being squishy or anything like that. It's still firm enough to feel nice and stable underfoot and balanced with that big wide platform, and it's probably a little bit firmer than the Gel Nimbus, but it is certainly a soft enough and very comfortable ride. And it got a little bit of rocker going on, not much, but it did run very smoothly for me today, just ticking over, as I say, at a very easy pace for me, really relaxed. The shoe felt a lot less noticeable on the foot than you would expect looking at it. It is a big wedge of shoe. It's very wide, it's very large, but just like I say, ticking over at easy paces, disappeared on the foot, ran a lot lighter than it is, and felt very comfortable, supportive, could just get on with the run, no concerns at all about the shoe. I also worried actually that the width of the shoe and the amount of ground contact you get here would be noticeable. I have had it before with very wide shoes that it just feels like I'm getting too much ground contact. I don't feel nimble and like I'm enjoying my run and feel a bit almost heavy legged, but that wasn't the case today with the Gel-Kayano 30. It really felt like I could just pick it up very nicely. It wasn't the longest run in the world and wasn't a fast run, so I do think maybe the size and general width of the shoe might come into play on very long runs on that, but at the same time today really felt like I could run all day in this shoe. It really feels like it's giving a nice balance of support and cushioning, and it's not exceptionally lively or anything underfoot, but it does a really good job of feeling like a max cushion shoe whilst incorporating all those stability elements. So it certainly feels like a different approach to stability with the Gel-Kayano 30, and it's one that I appreciated today on the run. It just provided a nice amount of balance to say, like, it's like niggly legs at the moment, little things going on, keeping the load low and pulling this on felt like the perfect shoe for it. Supportive, comfortable, but not annoying or big or firm in a weird way or anything like that. Just, yeah, really nice balanced shoe. Despite all the stuff going on with it, it's a shoe that felt very natural on the foot today on my run. Really initial verdict here. It's not really any kind of verdict, because like I said, I've just done one run in the shoe, fairly short runs, but I really enjoyed using the Gel-Kayano today. I think it is a really nice cushion shoe with stability elements on top. Certainly reminded me a lot of the Gel Nimbus 25, which is a shoe I really grew to like after being a little bit underwhelmed at first because of the massive amount of hype around it. And it's, it's just a really nice max cushion shoe. And I think that's the same with the Gel-Kayano 30, just with those added elements of stability that have come without any real cost, I think. Like, it's not a shoe that's going to be great for speed work and that kind of thing, I imagine. We'll do some tests to see, but for easy runs, it does feel very natural. The foot rolls through nicely, despite being a big, wide, stable shoe with loads of foam underfoot. Does feel comfortable and not at all like unwieldy or big on the run. So far, anyway. Loads more testing to come, but I like this new trend in stability shoes. Like, as somebody who doesn't use them a lot, and I'm aware that it might be quite annoying if you do someone who has used the Gel-Kayano for a while and really liked how it feels, and now it's broadened out its appeal. Maybe that is quite annoying. That'll be something that'll be interesting to hear about if that is you, but I do think it is still a stable shoe that hopefully will appeal to those people, while now bringing in a few other runners who like the fact it's not so geared towards just that stability on the inside, but general stability throughout the shoe. There's other shoes like this I really enjoyed as well, like the Saucony Tempus, and that's a lighter, livelier shoe. It might work well as a nice 1-2 punch with the Gel-Kayano as your big workhorse for easy and long runs, and then the Tempus has a bit of a livelier ride for faster runs, maybe even races. Drawback, like exactly with the Gel Nimbus 25, is the price, which is huge. Like, it's just so expensive, and I don't know, the Kayano is a shoe that does end up being reduced throughout the year, that kind of thing, and normally you can wait and get the previous version, but this is a big departure from previous versions, so it's not making you say go get the 29 and a deal. There might be slightly more room on the market for the Gel-Kayano compared to the Gel Nimbus 25, because there are so many really good max cushion, just neutral shoes, and maybe one that feels like this that does have those stability elements stands out a little bit more. Same time, it's still very, very expensive. And I do think it's quite hard to say any cushion shoe is really worth that kind of money. You know, if I'm going to spend that kind of money, I want a carbon plate racing shoe. But at the same time, enjoyed first run of the Kayano today. We'll do a lot more testing and see how that price feels to us in the full review down the line.
My early verdict for the Asics Gel-Kayano 30 is that it's an interesting improvement. Asics is clearly doing something to this shoe that is moving it forward and making it a more interesting stability shoe. It's definitely a shoe that I would now look at as an option if I wanted to go for a nice comfortable run. Feels more like a cushion shoe to me as opposed to a full out stability shoe, which has the associations you normally expect from a full stability shoe. It just feels more to me like a more versatile stability shoe, more comfortable, enjoyable stability shoe, and I'm actually looking forward to doing some more miles in this shoe. I can't say that about the previous Gel-Kayanos because they just weren't for me. I didn't really enjoy them, and because of that, they just didn't feel very versatile. Whereas this one does feel there's a bit more to it, and I really like the FF Blast Plus midsole foam in it. It just feels really comfortable and just nicely smooth when you're running in it, which is a big improvement, I think, for the Gel-Kayano range.
So that's our first run review of the Asics Gel-Kayano 30. Dive into the comments and let us know what you think about the shoe. Please do like, subscribe, ring the little bell, and we'll see you next time.